Hey everyone, welcome back to the Marketing Spotlight podcast. My name is Jake Leston, your host, and I am joined by our good friend Tony Nuckolls today. Hey Tony, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, happy to have you. Like we do at the top of all of our podcasts, we ask our guests to just give us a little background. Who are you and what are you all about?
Well, great question there. My name is Tony Nuckolls. I'm actually originally from Saginaw, Michigan. Not sure if many of our listeners have vacation there, but I was born and raised there and matriculated to Michigan State University on the campus of the Red Cedar in the early 90s and love my experience there. And upon working at the Lansing State Journal and the state newspaper, yes, that's right, the school paper is still there. I think it's in digital format, more than paper format these days. I actually had a few job opportunities and I landed at a high-tech finance company in Metro Detroit known as Rock Financial. And that was a mortgage company, brick and mortar. We decided to go online, all in online, and we closed our 28 branches across the United States and really revolutionized the mortgage industry before getting purchased by a company called Intuit, the makers of TurboTax and QuickBooks. And we were a part of their organization for a few years before a group of investors bought the organization back, rebranded it to Rocket Mortgage, and that's the company that you see, know, love, and hear about all the time, whether it's ESPN, sporting events, television, radio, what have you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. In fact, I've had a lot of different roles over the time, Jake. I started off in initial sales, worked in marketing, was a branch leader, helped grow a joint venture with a regional bank, actually one based in Lansing, right down the street, formerly known as Michigan National, before scaling our call center nationally to our offices located in Scottsdale, Arizona, Cleveland, Ohio, Metro Detroit, as well as Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow, that is an outstanding background, Tony, and it all started at Michigan State, and that's where I actually would love to start. Tell and share with our listeners a little bit about your on-campus experience and sort of your time in the classroom and time in and around East Lansing.
That's great. I have very fond memories of Michigan State University at the time. We were going through a lot of change. The economy wasn't quite as robust as it is today. But during those times, it was really interesting as we were starting to really lean into this whole social media marketing world. And I actually decided to change my major. I came up as initially thinking I wanted to be a business major, then a communications major. And I actually graduated with a degree in social science. A little bit ahead of my time, got made fun of by a lot of people. What is social science? It runs the world, folks. And so I learned quite a bit there on campus, but I also was involved in clubs. I actually joined an off-campus fraternity. I was involved in giving back in charitable organizations, but it was a really fun time to be there. The school grew, our notoriety grew, our sports teams improved, and I really think we elevated the profile of the university through that decade in which I was there and got to see us jump and take that next step.
And I'm sure Tony, today you have the opportunity to talk with students and you have the chance to work with many new folks into your organization. As you think about some of the folks that you've encountered, what stands out for you as a successful new hire in an organization, or what advice do you have for someone just graduating out of Michigan State and joining their company, in their first role? What advice do you have for them?
Well, that's a very good question. I think Michigan State Spartans have a unique advantage over some graduates at other universities and institutions, and here's why. We have a lot of students on campus that come from various backgrounds. And, as you're learning and you're collaborating and you're partnering with folks on projects and tasks and assignments, it actually gets you to a place where you understand the importance of teamwork. And I think Spartans are great at working together as a team. So one of the things that I would really be focused on coming into any organization would be the fact that you can immediately hit the ground and contribute right away. You've got experience doing it. You have a proven track record. There's many things that you've done that have added value in the teams, the clubs, the institutions, the companies that you've worked in. And as long as you demonstrate that and articulate it in an interview, I think it gives you a great prospect of taking that next step.
Yeah, that's terrific. I think you're right. This sort of hardworking excellence, this teamwork, roll up your sleeves. We can sort of kind of do anything, is that Spartan will mentality, for sure. And I'm sure you've had the chance, obviously, to build and cultivate teams throughout your career. Talk a little bit about what makes a really good team player. So as our students are joining these teams in the workforce, what have you seen as some of the most successful teams and qualities of teams that you've had the chance to build and work with over the
Jake,
years?
I've been very, very fortunate. I've worked in some amazing teams, and the qualities that we see in the individuals are usually reflected in the teams. So high character, people that are very trustworthy. Their word is their bond. They say something and they do that something. They execute and they see it through. People that are philosophically aligned, understanding that we're all better when we're all better. Teams that are open to feedback. Teams that collaborate in a way where it brings out the best in others. Where other folks might have some strengths, others have different strengths. And then when you put them together, the outcome is better than the individual. I also see teams that are able to really accelerate innovation together. They think of new and different. They're not afraid of taking risks, making mistakes, but failing forward from those mistakes, and then continuously evolving and learning and growing. And that's what the best teams have done. And then they consistently get results. So once someone asked me, what's the difference between a pro and an average Joe? I always would say a pro gets consistent results over extended periods of time, where an average Joe, no offense to Joe, if that's your name out there. No, it's just that it's a little inconsistent, right? They might get results for a week or maybe a quarter, but we're looking for people that can get consistently outstanding results over extended periods of time.
And Tony, you mentioned this idea of failing forward. As you think back on your career, what were some of those growing moments for you that have stuck with you as you continued to grow and evolve as a leader to higher and higher positions within your organization?
I think it was the fact that there were several startups that we did inside of our organization that didn't go off as planned. We started them, but we had to finish them pretty quickly because it wasn't delivering the most valuable value to our client and to our organization. But during those iterations, you learn so much, and you learn not just what to do, but I think what's more importantly, Jake, is you learn what not to do. And then what you do is you take inventory of that and you figure out how to do it better and differently in the future. So all of those experiences lead to better outcomes over time. You just have to be a part of a team and an organization that understands that. And when you are, it's exhilarating because that's where the growth really begins. If everything was clearly defined and easy, everyone would do it. To innovate, to create, to disrupt, to grow an organization, you have to be willing to really take some risks. And I've been fortunate to do that with some great folks over a long period of time.
Well, and speaking of disruption, certainly Rocket has been that in the marketplaces, for consumers, and especially in financial services and mortgages have changed so much. Tell our viewers or our listeners, excuse me, a little bit about what you've observed of that brand transformation and really what it means to serve your guests and account holders today.
Oh, that's a great question, Jake. So I'm going to date myself a little bit here. When I began in this industry, to obtain a home mortgage, it typically took anywhere between 45 and 60 days, which may sound like an eternity to some of you, but it was the standard in the industry at the time. You'd have to get 2 W-2s, paper. You'd have to get 2 years of tax returns, 1040s. You'd have to get 3 months of bank statements. You'd also have to get verifications of rent and prior payments, and almost like your blood type to get a loan back, several years ago. But today, what we've done is through technology and through disruption and with a lot of creative people, we've been able to streamline that process. And that same loan that may have taken 45 to 60 days several years back, we are literally doing in a few weeks, like less than 2 weeks in some cases, no longer than typically 30 days, which is great because that acceleration helps move the needle of the entire industry. You can get a new home sooner. You can refinance your home quicker. You can get the money out to do your investments or pay off debt or take cash out to do home improvements. All these things that can be beneficial to keep the economy moving we've been able to accelerate that through the innovation. So that change has been substantial. And I think we're only scratching the scratch of the surface of what the future holds, because there's so much on the horizon we can see coming around the corner with artificial intelligence and machine learning. And oh, the future is definitely bright.
So I'm glad you went there, because with a disruptive brand, I would imagine you all are thinking about what's disrupting the consumer landscape as you think about reaching and servicing guests in the best possible way. What are some of the conversations and things that you all are talking about in sales and marketing, that's really on the forefront of advancing the practice of marketing and reaching guests today?
I think the cool thing is what you're learning is what we're talking about. And so that's pretty cool when you know that what you're learning can be practically applied in business upon graduation. So some of the things we're talking about are longer term influencer brand relationships. There's so many influencers out in the marketplace. How do you harness that power? Live streaming, video content, user generated content, agile marketing, cohesive client experiences, learning how to leverage things like what we're doing, podcasts, voice tactics, right? To get your message out there in this very convoluted marketplace. How is it that your voice is heard? And really leaning into our brand, which is our client-focused culture ignites passion, accelerates results, leads folks to the right decision with certainty. Our brand allows people to think like Rocket can. We can do it, and we can do it fast. No one thinks of a slow rocket, right? When you think of rocket, you think of quick, fast, powerful, innovative. And really that brand is what we're looking to attract more great clients in the future through this wave of pent-up demand, because there's so many people that want to buy homes, they want to buy investment properties, they want to do all this real estate, but inventory's at record lows and rates have moved up quite a bit. So there's this big pent-up demand. And when the time is right, we want to be at the forefront of people's thoughts, and they understand that if they're going to get a mortgage, there's no place better on planet Earth than getting it through Rocket.
That's right. And I guess, on that same token, there's, wow, there's just so much happening with an organization. I would imagine some of our student listeners out there might be saying, Rocket Mortgage is a company for me. What sort of advice would you have for students who would be interested in joining a company like yours, or many others that are trying to disrupt the consumer landscape?
I would love to have more Spartans, no doubt about it, at Rocket. We've had a lot of successful Spartans through the years. In fact, our chairman and founder is a Spartan alum. But what I would say is, let's make sure when you're going through that process of interviewing prospective employers, that you're not just allowing them to interview you, but you're also interviewing them. Remember, there's a war for talent out there. And if you're bright and talented and articulate and have a great work ethic and have a positive attitude, you're going to add value to any great organization. So let's make sure that the culture, the philosophy, the vision, the people, the mission, the purpose is aligned with your values. Easier to say, harder to do. I know we've got student loans in some cases, we've got bills to pay, we've got things that we want to accomplish, but let's not lose sight over the big picture, because when you're going into the workforce, you're going to be working with people hopefully for a number of years and have a long, illustrious career. You really want to think about who you're going to surround yourself with, because you're usually a product of who you surround yourself with. And I was fortunate, I got to run a lot of great and talented, bright people, much better than me, and they've elevated my skill set through the years. And I would just implore any of our listeners to do the same. Surround yourself with great people, make sure that the values, the mission is clear, and it's an organization that you believe not only you can grow and apply your skills, but you can learn and advance. And to me, there's no better opportunity than an organization that is hyper growth focused like a Rocket.
Yeah, and Tony, I think one of the things that I get from our conversation so far is that's sort of been intrinsic in your career is this idea of being a learner. And I would imagine learning so much about standing these startups up, and then learning so much about moving through different functions through your organization. Talk to me a little bit about what it means to be an active learner throughout your career, because it seems like that's been so intrinsic to what has made you successful.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Jake. I really think, being a learner puts you in a position to be an earner. Being a learner allows you to grow different hard skills as well as soft skills so that you can add more value to your organization and the clients that you serve. And so when I think of learning, I don't think of it as a stopping and a start and a finish line. It's a continuum. It's you want to continue to learn and grow and advance as those skills become so valuable over an extended period of time known as a career. And so our organization learned very early on that it was these folks that could learn, that could advance the organization. And you're coming out of an environment right now, or in an environment where you're constantly learning. You might ask yourself, how does this even apply to what I do? Well, here's the thing, newsflash, you're learning how to learn. What you're learning, yes, can be applied, but what you're learning is preparing you for a world that we don't even know exists. 5 years ago, no one was talking about artificial intelligence. 20 years ago, barely anyone was talking about the World Wide Web or the internet. And so as you could tell, let's say you were in school in the late 80s, early 90s, no one knew that this would be here or this stuff was even possible, but through innovation, creativity, technology, we're here. So you having the ability to learn, you'll be able to continue to do that in any organization that you join and become a part of. It's one of the best skills you can bring to the table is being an open mindset, having a growth orientation, and willing to learn and grow.
Yeah, I mean, learning and earning, I think that's just, listeners out there, write that down. That's something that we should put on bumper stickers, because I think that is so true, not only in your career, but just in life.
Jake, think about this too, Jake. Sorry to
Yeah.
step backwards there, but learners are leaders.
Right. Yeah.
And leaders are constantly learning and evolving and growing. So, whether you want to be an individual contributor right away, if you have aspirations to be a leader and lead others, those leaders learn. They're consistently reading, getting experiences, attending seminars, sharpening their skills. They really have a mindset that the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And they're going to continue to lean into that.
Well, and I'm completely biased here, Tony, but and when I think about some great leaders that I worked for in my career, oftentimes they've gone through sales and marketing because of our connection to the consumer. So maybe inspire our listeners a little bit here too about what it means to be a leader having marketing and sales experience in your back pocket.
Well, Jake, you said it best. You're at the core of what it is that you're delivering as an organization. So you're literally interacting with the customer, the consumer, the client, whatever you want to call that end buyer or of the product or the service. And so for me, there's nothing greater than that initial sales experience. You learn how to speak with people, different people. You learn how to position sales. You learn how to provide value. You learn how to follow up. You create a great work ethic. You learn accountability. You have to look in the mirror for your results. You get to create your own destiny. And so for someone who's doing that, what you're really saying is you're an intrapreneur inside of an organization, not an entrepreneur, not on your own. You're a part of a team. You're an intrapreneur inside the organization. And the sales representatives and the marketing experts that can come in and do this well over time, they do have an opportunity to climb that ladder into the next opportunity with greater responsibility, and the next opportunity with greater responsibility. And before you know it, if you're creating 10x value and sharing your knowledge and wisdom and helping others get better around you, which I know Spartans do really well, there'll be incredible opportunities in your future.
That's fantastic. And speaking of an incredible opportunity, we've reached that time where we're going to hit the lightning round, which is an opportunity for us to rapid fire some questions Tony's way. If you're ready for it, Tony, we've got a few up our sleeve here. Ready?
Let's go.
All righty. Dorm you lived in on campus at Michigan State?
Freshman year was in Brody Complex, Butterfield Hall. And then I moved to the east side, a deluxe apartment known as Acres Hall.
Fantastic. Favorite East Lansing restaurant?
Ooh, that's a toughie. Well, I met my bride. They're in East Lansing. She's an MSU grad of the School of Education, just became a principal, actually. She and I like to go to the rooftop of LS.
Yes. Oh, like
the
popo salad. I love that. It's really good. Brand that you admire the most?
Rocket is the brand that I admire the most. However, what would be a close second? I think it may be Nike or Nike, however you want to pronounce it. And here's the why behind it is because the power of a brand is someone knowing about you before they need you. People have a feeling with that Nike brand. Could you imagine if there were Nike branded hotels? You'd already know what to kind of expect if you went through there. There's a certain level of service excellence and expectation with the product. I think Nike is a powerful brand.
Fantastic. And the last question is, what theme or trend in marketing happening today do you think is going to have the biggest impact on the industry in the next 10 years?
That's a great question. If I knew that answer, I might go out and play the ladder here. It's going to be tough. I think people are placing bets in a lot of different areas of marketing. But I really think we're coming down to user generated content and information. That's the future, in my opinion, because now what we've done is we've gone from this place where it was advertise or post and pray and think that things would work. Now we've got so much data and information that we can find out through evidence-based resources what works and what doesn't. So I think we're going to see an incredibly dynamic marketing space in the future where organizations, individuals, and companies can really target at a level that we've really never seen before.
Fantastic. And we'll leave it at that. Hopefully everyone goes and buys your lottery ticket. I want to say thanks so much for Tony Nuckolls for joining us today on the podcast. And like we end them all, go green.
And go white. Make the rest of the day the very best of your day. We appreciate you. Spartans will.
Spartans will. Thanks so much, Tony.
Take care, Jay.